Oh my god, I can't even. Oh my god, don't fall off the bed. How do people do this? Ah! Cramp. This is why I don't do massive book hauls, because then I get cramp from trying to hold the books up. Hello everyone, it's Meg, and today I am going to be sharing with you guys a £20 book haul. I have been wanting to film this video for ages, and now I have finally got round to it because I have finally completed the challenge. Just in case you guys are wondering what I'm talking about, I set myself a challenge last year to see how many books I could buy with £20. I have never seen anybody do this challenge before. I did search it. From what I am aware of, I have not seen this challenge being done, so I thought I might as well create it, and it was a lot of fun to do. Just a few things to point out on this challenge. I have been doing this challenge for over a year. I set myself the goal like last April, and I am filming this at the end of May. So I've been doing this challenge for over a year, and I just wanted to see how many books I could buy that I would really enjoy with £20, because you could buy one book for £20, and generally books can be really expensive, especially if they are in hardback. So for the past just over a year, I have been going around charity shops and seeing if I can find any books that I liked that I could pick up for an extremely cheap price compared to brand new prices that you get in a bookstore, if you see what I mean. Now, I didn't just go and buy any book that I wanted. I genuinely only bought books that I really wanted, that I knew I would enjoy or I have already read and wanted a copy because I really liked them. I didn't just go buying books here, there and everywhere. I bought a book with a purpose because I liked it, and I have read most of these books, probably around half of them, and I have enjoyed basically all of them that I have read so far. So I have, in total, 17 books, which I think is amazing, and the total of those books was £19.86, which I think is amazing. I do actually have another book that would take it to like £20.86, but we're going to leave it as this for the moment. So I'm really excited about all these books. I love all of these books and I love them all dearly. So since I have 17 books to talk about, I might as well just get into the haul. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first two books that I have got are Jane Austen books, and that is Northanger Abbey and Mansfield Park. I have been meaning to get copies of these two books for ages because I have copies of all of Jane Austen's other books, and I finally have these in these beautiful editions. They are, I'm not quite sure what edition, it says Everyman on them, and I've never seen these before. They are really individual. That's Northanger Abbey and Mansfield Park. I didn't know masses about these books because I am so familiar with all of Jane Austen's other stories because I've watched the adaptations of them, but I believe there are adaptations for these, but I haven't seen them yet. And I did start Northanger Abbey, but I did put it down and I haven't picked it up yet. But I'm really excited because Jane Austen is one of my favourite authors and her stories I have grown up with. So I'm really excited to have these in these stunning editions, and I can't wait to finally finish reading her works because I love her work very much. And the next book that I got was Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and I have never read a Bronte book before. I've never had much interest in it, mainly because they're kind of, I want to say slightly gothic stories, and they're kind of not really my thing. But this is probably the only Bronte book that I have much interest in, so I thought I might as well pick it up. It's not the most beautiful copy ever, but I still really enjoy it, and hopefully I will like this book, seeing as I've never read a Bronte story before. I bought all of these books together and it was a deal on, so it was 3 classics for £5, which I think was amazing, and they are all in excellent condition, and none of the spines have been broken or anything apart from on this one a bit, but they are all in amazing condition. So yeah, I thought £5 was an amazing deal. The next book that I have is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. I heard a couple of people talk about this book on BookTube, and I saw it and I thought I would get it, and here it is. I have actually already read this book. I listened to it on audio and I wasn't like a humongous fan of the audiobook. I thought it was okay, but I did really enjoy the story. And this is basically about two twins and about them growing up together. It's a dual perspective book and it was really nice. It was a really lovely story and I enjoyed the characters very much, and I absolutely love how this has sprayed yellow edges. I think it's lovely. And I definitely want to pick up The Skies Everywhere by Jandy Nelson as well. That kind of appeals to me a little bit more than this book, but I am really glad that I got this book because I really, really enjoyed it. And I got this book for 75p. I feel that might be the cheapest book that I have. No, it isn't. The next book that I've got is the cheapest one, so I hope you're all ready for that. Next up we have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. This is the cheapest book that I got in this haul, which is 49p, and it was a little battered. It's probably one of the more battered copies of a book that I have in this haul, but I was really curious about it and I know a lot of people do really enjoy the series, so I thought I might as well pick the book up. I listened to the audiobook on this and I ended up DNFing the audiobook because I did not like the narrator at all. It was just so monotone and droning and I was just like, oh my god, seriously? Like, I was probably about 80% through the audiobook, but I just wasn't enjoying it. I'm not sure if I will pick it up and read it physically. If I do want to read it again, then I will read it physically because I did not like the audiobook, but I'm not sure. I don't feel like it's my sort of story, to be honest. But it was really interesting to read this book, and kind of the story is very different to how I thought it was going to be. But I am really still glad I picked it up, even though I didn't enjoy it like I thought I might do, being optimistic, but nonetheless I am still really glad I got it and I could not go wrong with the price, like 49p, come on. Right, next up we have All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This book is very controversial. I think I talked about it in my summer wrap up last year, which was when I read it, and personally my personal enjoyment of the book, I did really enjoy it, but I do see where the issues are with it. This book is basically about a boy called Finch and a girl called Violet, and they meet at the top of a tower at their school where they're going to commit suicide, and the story just kind of goes on from there. It's just a story that is mainly influenced by mental health, and it also discusses depression and suicide, so please be aware of that before going into this book. Like I said before, I did really enjoy this book, but there were a lot of issues. I could see where a lot of people had issues with it, and I totally understand that, so I never gave it a rating. But I've always been really curious because it's been on my TBR for years, even before I started BookTube, so I'm glad that I finally got to pick it up, and I did enjoy it, even though I do have a lot of issues with it. And I got this for £1, so it was a lot better than buying it full price. Next book that I have in this haul is To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. I have talked about this book a few times on my channel so far, because originally I had no intention of picking it up, and then I found it in an antique / book knick-knack store, and I was like, it's only cheap, I might as well get it and see what all the fuss is about. And I love the series. I'm so glad that I got to read it, even though I had no interest in the first place. It's so cute and fluffy and warm, and it just makes me so happy. I have read Jenny Han's other series, the Summer I Turned Pretty series, and I really enjoyed that, but I feel like I prefer the series a bit more. It has a bit more depth to it and a slightly deeper meaning, and I love that. And this series is actually the reason why I started baking again, and now I am like the main baker at my work, which I think is awesome. So this series in general is just such joy, and I'm really glad that I got to pick it up. And I got this book for £1.50, which is one of the more expensive ones, I believe. It's probably one of the most expensive books that I have on this haul, £1.50, but again, absolutely amazing. I love it. Next up we have When God Was a Rabbit by Sarah Winman. You are going to see a lot of Sarah Winman in this book haul because I found all of her books in charity shops, and I don't know why, because they are absolutely fabulous, and I don't know anybody could not like them. Sarah Winman is one of my favourite authors of all time. I absolutely love her work. I have been raving about her throughout many videos, and you're never going to hear me shut up about her because I love her books so much. The writing is beautiful and wonderful and just amazing, and this book basically follows a girl named Ellie, and the first half of the book is about her growing up as a child with her older brother and her parents, and second half is when she's older, in her early 30s, I believe, late 20s, something like that. And it's basically a coming-of-age story about, and you are following this family and Ellie as she is growing up, and it is just so wonderful. All of Sarah Winman's books seem to have some sort of magical element into them. I wouldn't say that they're magical realism, but they do definitely have an underlying sense of magic, which I absolutely love. And they are always such a joy to read, and I love them to pieces, so be prepared for me to talk about her twice more in this haul. And I got this book for £1.65. The next book I have is the most expensive book in this haul, for a whole £2.20. And that is As I Walked Out on One Midsummer Morning by Laurie Lee. This is the novel that follows on from Cider with Rosie, I believe. Cider with Rosie is a memoir of Laurie Lee of his childhood growing up in the Cotswolds, and this basically follows Laurie's adventures when he travels to Spain. I believe that is what it is about anyway. And this is a memoir as well, like I said, that follows on from Cider with Rosie. And I love Laurie's writing. He has a way with words. They are so beautiful and wonderful. And I feel like more people on BookTube definitely need to read about them and read his work in general. The only thing with this book is that I'm slightly scared to read it because it is falling apart. I found it at the back of a bookshelf at my local antique store, and it is like falling apart, and I'm very slightly scared to read it, and also the writing is absolutely tiny, which is kind of scary, but it is a very short book. It's like 150 pages, so you know, but I'm really looking forward to diving back into Laurie's writing again. I think he is extremely talented, and I definitely need to read more of his work as well as some of his poetry work in the future. Next up in this haul I have Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is my current read, and so far I'm absolutely loving it. Fangirl is basically about a girl named Kath, and about her and her freshman year in university, and Kath deals with anxiety, which is something that I can relate to, and this book is just such a joy to read. I know it has been out for quite a while now, and it has been very popular for a lot of people, but I can totally see why the hype is real, because the love for this book is real. I love the characters, I love Rainbow's writing style, I just love everything about this book. I love the anxiety representation as well, and just everything. I just love everything about it. So I'm so glad that I finally got to pick it up, and I'm going to be reading it after I have filmed this video because I just love it. It is such a joy. I love it. So amazing. I feel like it's going to be one of my favourite books of 2019 as of yet. And I got this book for 75p. The next book that I got is another Sarah Winman book, and that is A Year of Marvellous Ways. This is the first Sarah Winman book that I ever read, and what sparked my love for her and her writing and her books. And this is probably my favourite book of Sarah's that I have read so far. This basically follows the story of a woman named Marvellous Ways, who is an old woman living in Cornwall in a gypsy caravan by the sea, and she cooks for herself, she makes her own food, she swims and bathes in the sea. And then the second perspective follows a boy named Drake who gets washed up on the beach where Marvellous lives, and Marvellous basically takes him in and cares for him, and the story goes on from there. Again, I have said this before, but Sarah Winman's stories are such a joy, and I love this book to pieces. It's one of my favourite books of all time, and if you would love some amazing, wonderful, magical reads, then definitely pick this up. And I got this book for 50p. The next book that I got is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I do actually already own a copy of this book. I own the paperback, But when I went into a charity shop a couple of months ago and saw that they had the hardcover in mint condition, I could not say no. This is one of my favourite books of all time. I absolutely love it. I love everything about it. I love the LGBTQ plus representation, I love the mental health representation, I love the characters, I love the writing, I love how much joy it brings me, I love everything about it, and that is why I couldn't resist having a hardback copy. And do you want to know how much this cost me? This is basically mint condition. It cost me 99p. Like, 99p. Like, that is ridiculous. These books are like over a tenner, like brand new, full price, and this is excellent condition. Like, it's I can hardly tell that it is a second-hand book because the condition is so amazing. I'm so happy that I got a amazingly mint condition copy of this book for such a low price. It just makes me so happy, and I love it, and I love this book, so this is probably going to be the edition that I annotate when I eventually reread it. And the next book that I have is Summer Days and Summer Nights, which is edited by Stephanie Perkins, and this is basically a collection of short stories which are summer romance related. And I also got this at the same time I got Upside of Unrequited, and this is also in really, really good condition, and this was also 99p, which, girl, that is amazing. Like, these are some of my best buys because of how good condition they are and just everything. I'm just like, I'm living, okay? This is why you go to charity shops for buying books, because you find some real treasures and just, oh my god. I don't know much about this book apart from the fact that it's short stories, but it's really pretty. I wanted to read it, and it's got beautiful sprayed yellow edges. I seem to have something for sprayed yellow edges. I don't know why, but I do. And it's amazing, and I can't wait to read this summer. I thought it would be the perfect summer read, which is exactly why I picked it up. The next book that I have on this haul is Longbourn by Jo Baker. This is another book I'm currently reading, and it is one that I've been wanting to read for ages. This is basically a retelling of Pride and Prejudice from the perspective of the servants, which I think is awesome, and I really wanted to get into more Pride and Prejudice retellings because I would love to do a video about recommending some Pride and Prejudice retellings eventually, once I get through them, because I have a lot on my list. But so far I'm really enjoying this. I'm like less than 50 pages into it. I'm about 50 pages, just over 50 pages into it. So far I'm really enjoying it, and I've heard some good things about it, so, you know, how could I not pick it up? And I got this book for £1.99. And the next book that I have is the final book for Semra Woman in here, and that is Tin Man. This is Sarah's latest book, and I don't know anything about it apart from the synopsis on the back, and I don't really want to know anything, to be honest, because I know I'm going to love it. And it is also her shortest book, which is very sad. I think this is under 200 pages long. It's just under 200 pages long, which is really sad because it's not going to take me very long to read, and I need more Sarah Winman in my life. But I cannot wait to read this. It is going to be magical and wonderful and heartwarming and just everything that I could ask for in a book. And I got this for 50p, which was absolutely amazing, and it is probably one of the best kept condition books that I have in this haul. So I cannot wait to read it. I'm going to be picking this up very, very soon. We are finally down to the last two books in this haul. So the second to last book in this haul is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I was quite surprised to see this book in a charity shop because I know it is loved by so many people and a lot of people like it. So I was really surprised, but you know, not everybody has the same reading tastes, and somebody, I guess, didn't like it as much, so there you go. I am not a big fantasy reader. Like, I have about 2 fantasy books on my shelf. That is how much I'm into fantasy. But this story does intrigue me, and even though I believe it is high fantasy, which does kind of scare me, and it is over 500 pages long, which scares me even more. Like, look at it. It's massive. I still got it because I am really intrigued, and I would like to read a bit more fantasy as well, instead to kind of broaden my reading horizons instead of just sticking with contemporary, which is what I generally do. But I just really felt like picking this book up. I am definitely going to read it at some point when I can pluck up the courage to read a 500-page fantasy book when I basically don't read any fantasy. But you know, it's a challenge, and it's a challenge I accept, and I cannot wait to read it, and hopefully I will love it as much as everybody else does. And I got this book for 50p. Like, it's a pretty good condition book. It's massive, it's 500 pages, I got it for 50p, like, what? Like, I'm always gobsmacked when I go back about how much I've spent on all these books. Like, I really didn't spend a lot, and I just love it. And we are finally at the last book in this haul, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I have been curious about this book for a while now. It's not the sort of book that I read. It is historical fiction. I don't know whether it's kind of fantasy as well, or magical realism. I think it's got one of those elements in it, not sure what. But it is, obviously it's about circus, and there is some sort of magical element because circus, magic, you know. But I've heard that the writing is very beautiful, and even though it is meant to be quite a slow book, I personally don't mind that if the writing is absolutely gorgeous. So I picked it up, and I'm really curious to see how much I'm going to like it. But yeah, I just thought I'd pick it up because it's a book I've been very curious about for quite a while, and I am always a sucker for a book with beautiful writing, so, you know, your girl had to pick it up. And especially since this book was only 75p, so you know, you can't go wrong. If I don't like it, then it was still 70p well spent, 75p well spent, because you know, it's only 75p. So those are all the books that I bought with £20. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It is something that I have been working on for a very, very long time, and it's really exciting that I'm finally able to film this video and share all the books that I have bought. Like I said, I have loved a lot of these books, and I love all of these books that I have bought. Some of them I've loved more than others, but I bought them because I'm really interested in all of them, or they're books that I've read and I love, so I needed my own copy. And yeah, I just thought it'd be a really fun challenge, and to kind of show people that you don't need to spend a lot of money on books. Charity shops and car boot sales and antique places are amazing places to find cheap books, especially if you are reading on a budget like myself. And I just thought it would be nice to show you guys, especially I found some real gems in here, and books that I will treasure for the rest of my life, books that have become some of my all-time favourites that I love oh so dearly. And yeah, I love them all. If you guys ever fancy doing this challenge, whether it was $20, £20, €20, whatever your currency is, then feel free to go and do it. And when you have completed your challenge, and if you make a video, leave the link to it in the comments down below, because I would love to watch your videos and see what books and treasures you find in charity shops, secondhand bookshops, whatever you can do. It is totally up to you. But do remember, if you do decide to do this challenge, that choose books that you genuinely want to read. Don't just go out and buy a bunch of books just to complete the challenge. I bought all these books because I was interested in them, and I have loved the majority of them that I've read so far. And I also spent over a year doing this challenge, so just take your time doing this challenge if you decide to do it, and make sure that you only buy books that you really want to read. If you like this video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more bookish videos from me, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you will be noted every time I post a new video. As always, I will leave the links to my social media along with my Goodreads and blog in the description down below for you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!